Welcome and good evening. For those of you in the audience who have not attended one of these hearings recently, please allow me to review our normal procedure. Staff will introduce each item for consideration. If you'd like to speak, please fill out one of the speaker forms that are located out in the lobby and indicate on it which item you want to speak in reference to and on which side you are standing. And once you do that, please give that form to the clerk to my left. The applicant and those supporting the applicant will be heard first. Those in opposition to the request will be heard next. Then the applicant will be given a chance for rebuttal. Comment should be restricted to pertinent information regarding the agenda item under discussion. Neighborhood disputes, personal disputes, homeowner association disputes. This is not the forum for any of that. If you're an individual, you'll have 3 minutes for your comments, and if you are speaking on behalf of a group, you will be given 6 minutes. Speakers should move closer to the podium when their item is being presented by staff. Speakers should identify themselves for the record by name and their home address. Each speaker should be given respectful, courteous attention, and please recognize that the board may ask questions of speaker or staff or anyone we have questions relative to. Information shared, photos, drawings, anything like that are kept as part of the record. If there is something that you have on a digital device, if you want it to be part of the record, if you want us to consider it, you do have to send a copy of it to staff. And if you do it after the meeting, that's fine. I'll then ask for a motion from the board. Once a motion's been made and seconded, we'll discuss the matter and close the floor to input. Following discussion, a vote will be taken. During voting, board members who do not cast objecting votes are considered to have voted in favor of the motion. Any person aggrieved by a decision of this board has 15 days to file an appeal to the Board of County Commission, and after the meeting, staff can help you with that process. Having said that, number one, please.
Good evening. Angie Gates for the record. Item number 1 is a request for a side yard east setback variance from 10 feet to 6 feet for a detached carport in the PD Plan Development District and the Chelsea Place subdivision located at 910 Lewis Place. The proposed detached carport will be 360 square feet and will encroach 4 feet into the required side yard east setback. There have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Gentlemen, any questions for staff? Ms. Gates, I had just one quick question. I noticed from an aerial that the adjacent neighbor has a parking area. Do we know, I guess my two questions are, is that concrete or gravel, do we know? And also, is that in any way, was it permitted or had gone through the permitting process?
The neighbor's concrete was permitted?
I don't know whether it's concrete or gravel or.
If the neighbor's,
Right.
I don't know if it's a parking pad, if it's, concrete usually doesn't require a permit unless it has something built on top of it. There may be a review for drainage, but I did not research that.
Gotcha. So in a residence, now maybe this is what you're saying, when we start talking about impervious surfaces, that's what you mean when you say drainage? Yeah.
Yes.
Gotcha. All right, thank you, ma'am. Anyone changing their mind on questions for staff? All right, is the applicant here?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Is there anything you'd like to add to what staff had said? You can speak if you'd like, but you don't have to.
No.
Unless any of y'all have questions for this gentleman? All right, no questions. Anyone in the audience to speak in support of this matter? Anyone to speak in opposition to the matter? Seeing none, I'll close the floor. Gentlemen, your preference.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a
Second.
second? Who was the second? I'm sorry. Vice Chair seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, enjoy, sir.
Item number 2 is a request for 1, a side yard north setback variance from 10 feet to 5 feet, and 2, a rear yard setback variance from 30 feet to 10 feet for an addition in the R1AA Single Family Dwelling District in the Druid Hills State subdivision located at 1050 Druid Drive. The proposed addition will be approximately 1,200 square feet and will encroach 5 feet into the required north side yard setback and 20 feet into the required rear yard setback. The addition will consist of a bedroom, bathroom, and covered porch, 2 letters of support were submitted from adjacent neighbors, and there have not been any prior variances for the subject property. And this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, any questions for staff? Seeing none. Is the applicant here?
Yes, I'm here.
Anything you'd like to add to what staff had said, ma'am?
Nothing to add.
All right, y'all have any questions for the applicant? This is easy tonight.
Oh,
I hope there's nothing out there that might change it.
come on, man.
Look what you...
Is there anyone here to speak in support of this matter? Seeing none, anyone here to speak in opposition to this matter? Gentlemen, your pleasure.
Move to approve.
Motion approved. Judge, second from the judge. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, enjoy.
Never talk about a no-hitter.
Number 3, please.
Item number 3 is a request for a side yard east setback. I'm sorry, item number 3 is for a side yard east setback variance from 10 feet to 5.5 feet, and to a rear yard setback variance from 30 feet to 7.5 feet for a shed in the R1AA Single Family Dwelling District in the Willow Grove subdivision located at 1765 Willow Circle. The existing shed is 500 square feet and encroaches 22.5 feet into the required rear yard setback and 4.5 feet into the required side yard east setback. A building code enforcement violation, 24-241, was issued for this structure, resulting in the necessity of this variance. There have not been any prior variances for this subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, any questions for staff? Seeing none, is the applicant here? Would you come up, please, sir? Because, of course, share what you have, but I know I have questions and some of the others might
I have one
also.
as well, yeah.
If you could please share with us your name and address.
Joseph King, 1765 Willow Circle.
All right, sir. What do you have to share with us?
I just have a couple pictures and letters from all the surrounding neighbors.
That's good. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, sir.
Mr. Beasley, did you have a question?
Beagley.
I know,
It's been
I'm sorry.
years. You still can't get my last name, so.
You know, I was young in the 70s, so, you know.
So I had a question regarding those letters. I'm going to look at those in a second. Those are the ones that are directly behind the property?
Left side, right side, and the
63, 67, and
and then the rear diagonal to the left.
70, is 33?
33. Yes, sir. 33.
Have you talked to 31? Looks like it's impacting them a little bit more than,
I have not talked to 31.
Is the pool already there?
Yes, sir.
Not in the picture.
The shed was put up before the pool.
And the building that's there, the small building, is that the one we're talking about today?
Yes, sir.
So that, the building's already there.
That's the building in question right now.
yeah, it has
Judge.
open
So
code
it's-
enforcement.
It's
Yeah,
already there, okay, yeah.
How did we get here with the code enforcement?
With the pool, there was, the fence was inspected, I believe, a rear fence for safety, and he reported the shed.
I'm just curious how the shed got built without proper permitting or,
That was on me. Basically, my parents were losing this house. This was the childhood house I was born and raised in. My parents were losing the house, foreclosure. I was able to, with the help of my boss, was able to get it out of foreclosure relatively quickly because they handed me the note very late. And I put them in assisted living. All their stuff was still inside the house. All the stuff I grew up with, furniture, just everything. They left with 2 suitcases. I put them in assisted living, and then I built the shed. Just
How long has it been there for, sir? That shed been up?
year and a half, year.
And no one said anything? None of your rear neighbors or anything else?
No, sir.
Okay.
Actually, Mr. Kemping to the right, he actually enjoys it.
Oh,
He says it,
okay.
yeah, he says it helps with the growing of his plants, and it helps, I don't know, and it helps
a little
with.
more shade?
And
It's
it
a
helps
win.
with the wind on the fence. He wrote that down. I thought it was kind of comical.
When you got your permit, did you get any questions? You had a permit for the building. You built it.
I didn't, no, I
No,
didn't.
sir, that's why we're here. It's a code enforcement matter.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here to speak in support of this matter? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none, gentlemen?
Mr. Chair,
Sir,
move to approve.
a motion to approve. We have a second?
Second.
Second from the vice chair. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right, sir. Enjoy your shed.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Number 4, please.
Item number 4 is a request for 1, a rear yard setback variance from 30 feet to 3 feet, and 2, a side yard north setback variance from 7.5 feet to 4.5 feet for a workshop in the R1A Single Family Dwelling District in the Williamson Heights subdivision located at 1220 George Street. The existing workshop is 486.22 square feet and encroaches 27 feet into the required rear yard setback and 3 feet into the required side yard north setback. A building code violation, 24-232, was issued for this structure, resulting in the necessity of this variance. The existing workshop will be used for personal use only, and there have not been any prior variances for the subject property, and this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, any questions for staff? One quick question, and please pardon my ignorance. What is the, as we just saw earlier, we're so used to code enforcement violations. What's the building code violation?
It's what goes to code enforcement. It gets reported, someone usually calls, wants to know, or just like the last gentleman, they come out for an inspection, they check to see if other stuff sometimes has been inspected or.
I'm just curious, because the packet had just said building, didn't say code enforcement, so.
It's a building code enforcement violation.
Gotcha. Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, questions? The applicant here. Or the applicant,
Your Honor,
through your representation,
Yes.
representative.
yes.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Grace Ann Glavin. I'm an attorney. My office address is 1511 East State Road 434, Winter Springs, Florida. I represent Harold Morse and Crystal Morse, who is present. Mr. Harold Morse was hospitalized Friday with a very serious heart problem. He had a four blockage operation. He tried to come tonight, but he can't. He was too ill. So only the lady applicant is here, the wife. I am here representing her. I have to speak, if I could, with regard to asking the board for some mercy with regard to our situation.
Quick question.
Yes,
Nope, I answered, it's going, yeah. Mrs. Morse also has, her name's on the title?
yes, it is.
Gotcha.
Both Mrs. Morse and her new husband, Mr. Harold Morse.
My apologies for interrupting. Please continue.
Please, Miss Morse was married to a gentleman by the name of, I have here, Anthony Richard in 1982. In 2015, they bought this beautiful home in Winter Springs, and unincorporated Seminole County, of course. And Mr. Anthony Richard passed away, unfortunately, at an early age in September 2019. So she owned the house for 4 years before she became a widow. Then thereafter, she married Mr. Harold Morse, who is a 100% disabled veteran, discharged from the U.S. Army in 1970, sir, and with his heart condition. And he and Mrs. Morse, who is present tonight, are co-owners of property. In June of this year, she wanted to produce a shed on the property for her current husband's woodworking hobbies, only for hobbies. So she contacted Empire Sheds in Apopka, and they subbed out to tubular sheds for insulation. They called Sam's the concrete man for a concrete slab. Now, none of these contractors got a permit, and Mrs. Morse was unknowledgeable about the permit situation, unknowledgeable also about the setback situation. In any event, so we have shown, we have discussed with staff that we do believe that the concrete which was poured by Sam's Concrete does encroach thoroughly into the easement, also perhaps right to the over the border to the neighbor's property. We have already called this morning a contractor, same contractor, to pull all that out. We'll take all that out immediately. as to the shed itself, which is constructed with Ms. Morse's own funds, we do believe it is 6.4 feet from the property line, which would violate the 7.5-foot setback. We're asking for the mercy of the board with regard to this widow woman trying to please her husband, and she knows she'll get a permit, she'll get anything she has to do to reconcile the situation, but she doesn't have a permit, and it was done incorrectly.
Anything else?
No, we just need a little bit of time to remedy whatever situation the board tells us to do.
Gentlemen, do you have any questions?
Yes.
Please.
Who prepared the application packet? Was that yourself or the property
No,
owner
I was just
himself?
retained like this week. I was prepared by Mr. and Mrs. Morse themselves.
All right.
They came to the county.
All right, well then perhaps the property owner would be better to answer the question.
Maybe just go ahead and ask your question, and
All
whoever
right.
else can answer.
As part of the application, there are 6 answers to be given for various questions about the variance criteria.
Come forward.
And several of them go into subjects that do not appear to be immediately germane to the application, such as employees from the property to the back, about a brick wall, about people doing drugs. What?
These are the answers of my client.
Yeah.
We're just suggesting if they're not relevant, just to strike them, sir.
Okay.
Just to strike them. Is that okay?
Any other questions?
If they're not relevant, about the back wall. The wall's not relevant, it's the back of the property.
Right, it's the back property line.
And I think my question dovetails on something that Mr. Kunzen was saying, is we have a member of the Florida Bar here. We have 6 variance criteria that we're supposed to take into consideration for each application. Do you have anything you'd like to add to or amend your client's arguments for those 6 criteria?
No, Your Honor. We have stated our case. We say what we have, what's on the ground, and that's it. I mean, we would like to say that she had no knowledge of the permit. She will get a permit. She had no knowledge of the violation of setback. She will amend that however she needs to. Whatever you would like her to do, she will do.
Gotcha. Thank you, ma'am.
There's a correction to the date of when my husband passed. He passed in August, not in September.
Please, that's, I appreciate that, but thank you, that's not necessary. All right. Gentlemen, any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Please keep in mind, of course, you do, if some other folks speak, you will have a chance for rebuttal.
Sure.
So just, anyone else here to speak in support of this matter?
Absolutely.
Please, come on down, sir.
Oh, support. No, not support. Sorry. I was so excited to come up.
All right. Is there anyone here to speak in support of this matter? Seeing none, I have a list of folks here who'd like to speak in opposition. I'm going to read them in no particular order other than the stack handed to me. So when I call your name, please come on down. Kevin Lathrop? And Mr. Lathrop, when you get to the microphone, you take your time, but just for the record, give us please your name and address again.
My name's Kevin Lathrop. I live at 1230 George Street, next door.
Thank you, sir. Please share your thoughts.
Okay, I've got multiple pictures here of things that are, within the building, the concrete, and the position of things. This building is a monstrosity. It's as big as the house is, practically. I don't see where anybody needs a building of that caliber for a workshop. I've got pictures here. You're welcome to them.
The clerk can help you. There's a camera above, and so we can take a look at them.
Okay.
And you show us as many or as few as you want to. But
You're
just keep in
welcome to
mind the
see them
time.
all.
Well, you've got 2 more minutes.
Okay, this is the end of the building, which faces, this is my fence that you see, okay, and the concrete pad is within about a foot of the fence. Okay, the fence is the actual property line. I understand the concrete's coming out based on what was just said. Let's go to the next one. Okay, this is looking down the back side of the building, the block wall being to the warehouses that's behind us. That block wall was put up primarily for to divide off the warehouses from the neighborhood because everybody could see right into our backyards, okay? This picture here, this fence here, this is going from, this is my fence post on the back side, which is my property line, okay? So it's this way and this way. This is added on to the wall because they had a dog at one time trying to keep the dog in the backyard. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. And again, this is the front side of the building. Okay, now this is the concrete pad. Again, this is my fence. This is the concrete pad that's in question that they're taking out. But this other shed is right on top of my fence. I'm thinking that shouldn't be like that, but, you know, I'm not a building engineer. And again, this bottom hole here is the property line where the fence used to be in that yard that they took down. So that property from there back, it belongs to the county, the city, whoever. It's not mine, it's not anybody else's on the street. But there are folks that have taken their fence down, encompassed it into their yard. I am not one of them. I chose not to do that. This is before the concrete pad went in. You can see some of the framework. This is the one that's beside the little shed along my fence. And the next one, this is the whole thing encompassed without the building on it when it was all framed up. My question is this thing built to code? Is it going to stay there in a storm? I have been told that if this building comes apart in a hurricane and it, you know, destructs and ends up in everybody's house, you know, hey, who's paying for it? Because I don't need that destroying my property, you know.
We need to wrap up here, sir.
Okay. So anyhow, the rest of the pictures are here. You guys, welcome to them.
And the clerk will share them with us. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I have a question for staff whenever it's appropriate to have that.
In reference to Mr. Lathrop or something else?
To-
What he had shared with us, or just?
In
All right,
general.
We'll circle back.
Thank
Before we do anything else. The next person I have is Judy, please forgive me, Bonestadt?
That's me, but I'm just here. Yeah, we didn't know if we just needed to fill that out.
Gotcha, no worries. David Duncan?
All right, you gentlemen all have a copy of this, correct?
Well, we don't know what it is.
Okay.
Is it from the applicant?
You can give it
You can hand it to the clerk.
Okay, perfect. I have 5 copies. That's perfect. And I'm going to read off that and make my notes to that, so I want you to be able to.
If you could please give us your name and address for the record, though, please.
David Duncan, 1210 George Street. I am the other neighbor on the other side. All right, here we go. Got it. What are the special conditions and circumstances on question number 1? She put there's a concrete wall at Winter Springs and City Hall and blah, blah, blah. Has nothing to do with the building. So my question for question number 1 is the concrete wall is outside of your existing property. So please explain how that affects your new shed. With or without the concrete wall, you would still be required 30 feet of variance on the back of your property line, not a block wall. But the size of the shed that you picked is over 200 square feet. Question number 2, how are these special conditions and circumstances? She calls it a brick wall. It's not a brick wall, it's a block wall. My comments for number 2. Once again, how does this existing block wall, not brick, that sits roughly 5 to 6 feet back from your actual property line affect the fact that your new shed is too close for the variance laws? Question number 3. How would you granting the variance considered? Please explain why putting your shed closer than the county variance law allows for you to in your backyard to your back property line. Will this help out other property owners nearby? I mean, how is that going to help out? She wants to do something that there's a code. I'm a contractor. Like, we do things to code. So I don't understand how that is going to help us, because she put in here that's going to help her. Question, or help all of us. Question number 4, how would this literal interpretation of the provisions of the zoning registration? My question for number 4. As far as the flooding control, the block wall that has existing draining holes that you have covered up and sealed off, the block wall that you do not own, that Mr. Reese owns, that is between your property and his property. So to the other owners, the water flooding would be worse now that your shed is also that close to the block wall. Where's the water supposed to go? Question mark. Other properties nearby? How does the shed variance have anything to do with the birds and squirrels having a, quote, place to place and get a drink of water, since that's on a totally different place in your property?
We need you to start wrapping up, sir.
Yeah, I've got 2 more. How would the request variance be a minimum variance? Question number 5. How does the requested variance have anything to do with what you're going to use the shed for? Where does your husband keep his tools? Where your husband keeps his tools could be anywhere. Why should that be allowed to get a closer variance for a big shed? Just because your husband needs a workshop that close to the back property line? Is that a thing?
Sir,
And final.
Yeah, if you could please give us your conclusion, I'm sorry.
Yeah, here's
Out
my
of fairness to
conclusion.
everybody.
Number 6 is my conclusion. How would the guarantee thing? I said, please explain why you have people hiding and doing drugs on your property and how this shed will now discourage them. Also, how does your shed help other homeowners maintain their properties? Will you be running a free lawn care company out of this shed to maintain the other homeowners' properties? Because she said it helps the other property owner. It mainly seems that if your shed is allowed to stay without following the variance laws of the County of Seminole that has written in place, then all the homeowners nearby will do the same and will still variance non-compliant the shed on their property. Who knows where the floodwaters will end up? So basically, one person does it, why can't we all? If it gets approved. That is my conclusion.
Any questions, gentlemen? Thank you for your time, sir.
Yes, sir.
Those are all of the forms. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition? Seeing none, the applicant's rebuttal.
I'll do for Bobby, yes, sir. I'm very brief. Yes, sir. Grace Lavin, yes, sir. I have an exhibit. Will you put on the screen? A survey, sir. Ma'am. This is a survey done by Long Surveying on August 20th of this year. What we wish to show is the gentleman who just spoke, Mr. Duncan, his property is to the south of our subject. We are at lot 12. His property is to the south on George Street. And the first gentleman, Mr. Lathrop, whose property was affected, is on lot 11. So lot 13 and Mr. Duncan is not being encroached upon, but lot 11 has been. Now, the concrete wall that they speak about is in the back. It was constructed by the warehouse company a long time ago in the back, and nothing to do with our application for adjustment. Apparently, when my clients, without benefit of counsel, filled out the application for this board, they made comments with regard to the concrete wall. Has nothing to do with this, sir. So we have agreed, and we certainly do agree, that the concrete pad for our shed, which is shown here, does encroach onto the lot of Mr. Lathrop and also into the easement. So we plan to remove all of that. What we're asking is that since the shed is so close to the allowable setbacks of 7.5 feet, we're at 6.4 feet, we believe, we would ask for the Board of Adjustment to allow us to have the shed in place, remove every bit of the concrete, but before we have a permit allowing the shed in place, we'll make application for a permit, make sure it's up to code, have it inspected by the county and everything. We'd be happy to. That's our position.
Thank you. Gentlemen, any questions? All right, thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Sorry.
sir.
Could you put the survey back up? I'm sorry.
Just want to make sure we have the geography here.
I'm abstaining from this issue.
So the understanding that the concrete you're referring to is the on the north side of the large shed?
It's underneath the shed, and it's also all along the easement on the north side and encroaching upon Mr. Latham's lot. All going to be removed immediately, as soon as we
Okay.
kick them out. We
And-
called them this morning.
Understand. I'm looking at the survey, and it showing approximately 1.8, 1.9 feet of concrete that is over the property line
Yes.
into the adjacent property.
It will all be removed immediately,
And
right up to the building line.
And what I'm
And we'd like
asking,
to
my
keep
next
the building
question, my
moving.
next question is, there's a second shed that also encroaches over the property line based on that survey. And my question is, I know we're talking about the larger shed, but the smaller shed encroaches over. Are you,
I see that, sir. And
are
that
you
was been-
rectifying that as well?
That was there for a long time, and we plan to move that immediately, like next week, sir. They realize now that that is important.
No, sir. No. We're going to be courteous to each other.
We
here.
understand now, since they have counsel, I've explained all this about setbacks and encroachments, that is encroaching. The small shed is going to be removed immediately.
Okay.
Immediately, like within 10 days.
Thank you.
And the concrete will be within 2 weeks.
Thank you.
And we'd like to have permission to have our building where it is. It's for her current husband's workshop.
Any other questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Kunzen, I know you had a question for staff.
The question was addressed by the vice chair. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, didn't mean to sleep.
It's fine.
All right. Before we move to calling the question, do you all have any questions for staff? Or just in general? All right. Your pleasure.
Mr. Chair,
Sir,
motion to deny.
a motion to deny, Mr. Kunzen. Is there a second?
Second,
A second? Mr. Beagley?
my man.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Every single application that we entertain here, the homeowner or the representative is expected to put at least a good faith effort into answering the mandatory 6 questions that they're supposed to answer for us, for our consideration. Without pertinent answers to the mandatory questions, in my opinion, we have an incomplete application, and I don't think we have sufficient information to make a decision.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I'd asked a question whether council would choose to amend, and they chose not to. Any other comments before I call the vote? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to deny, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right, the motion is denied. If you would like to appeal it to the county commission, you have 15 days. After the meeting, staff can help you all with that if you need it. Number 5, please.
Good evening. For the record, Hillary Payton, Planning and Development. Item number 5 is a variance request for 1193 Bunnell Road, located in the McNeil's Orange Villa subdivision. The request is for a front yard setback variance from 50 feet to 38 feet for a privacy fence in the A1 zoning district. The request is to construct a 6-foot privacy fence 12 feet into the front yard setback, lining up with the front building line of the existing home, which was constructed in 1958 prior to the Land Development Code. The proposed privacy fence is 47 feet from the sidewalk and 57 feet from the edge of pavement. In 2006, there was a court-ordered right-of-way taking of 33 feet from the front property line to widen Bunnell Road. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, any questions for staff?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
That 33 feet, was that through eminent domain?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Anything you'd like to add to what staff had said? Please. Just, please give us your name and address for the record.
Robert Cortez, 1201 Bunnell Road. Good evening, gentlemen, Mr. Chairman, members. I own 1193. I also own 1201, which is contiguous to this. I own both properties to the west. When we made an application to pull a permit for the fence, we found out that the house itself, the setback, we would not make it. We tried to see if we can move the fence back to meet the 50 feet, but that's where the septic tank and the drain field is, so we would actually have to be putting the fence over the septic tank. The purpose for the fence is to protect the septic tank and the drain field. Upon doing some research, we found that originally the house did have have the 50 feet and plus to do setbacks, but it was taken in 2005 for the widening of Bunnell Road. The property next door is a church. The pastor, I saw him Sunday, yesterday at church, and he said he does not have any opposition if he can provide a letter if needed. Also, the 1173 has also, if I may,
Is that better?
this one right here, if you notice the church, they can't even meet the setback because of the taking. This property has a fence similar to this one here, and it has the same problem. So it's consistent to what's going on in the community with about 5 or 6 homes that have had the property taken for the widening of the road. I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, any questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is anyone here to speak in support of this matter? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none, your pleasure, gentlemen.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve. Second from the judge. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, sir. Good luck with your fence. Next.
Item number 6 is a variance request for 511 Woodfire Way located in the Deer Run subdivision. The request is for a right-of-way setback variance from 20 feet to 14.5 feet for a screen enclosure in the Deer Run plan development. The request is to construct a 255-square-foot screen enclosure encroaching 5.5 feet into the 20-foot setback from the right-of-way requirement of the PD. The Deer Run PD requires a 20-foot setback from the right-of-way lines on Woodfire Way and Mystic Wood. There is not a setback from the property lines like traditional properties. Between the property lines and the right-of-way line, there's a green belt owned by the Mystic Woods Homeowners Association. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Gentlemen, any questions for staff?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
The applicant is speaking about the existing patios. Many of the properties have screened-in patio areas. Can you show any sort of history that you know of in the area that also has that were approved by previous boards or by us?
I was not able to find any variances for this area.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, is the applicant here?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Would you like to, well, come on down, please, and just give us your name and address for the record, please.
Sure, it's that one.
You know what I mean.
My name is Lisa Pierce, 511 Woodfire Way, Castleberry, Florida.
Yes, ma'am, please.
So there are other screened enclosures on a lot of the units in that subdivision. Consequently, there's one right across the street from me at 513. I measured it. Unfortunately, we had an incident in the family today. We had to put a dog down. I didn't get to go by the house to get my records before I came here. So, but I did go over and measure this unit here. Is 513, and it is 14 feet from the setback, and there's no variance application that was done on it. Not to mention the fact that the variance code was written in 1980. These buildings were built in the 1980s, 82 to 84. The block wall that encompasses the patio is already at 14.5 feet, and there was no variance for that when it was built. So I'm curious to know why I had to pay for a variance and apply for one when the block wall already exists and the one across from me exists with less of a distance and is screened in, and no variance was applied for or approved for that one.
To your question, I'll just say, in the short term, it's a little more expensive to do things the right way. It'll benefit you in the long term, though.
But a permit was applied for that one. I looked on their unit. It was applied for and approved without a variance.
Interesting.
So why am I held to a higher standard than that unit? That one was built in 2012.
I would just say that assumes some facts that aren't before us, and we can't address it. We can just, you and your situation. But gentlemen, do you have any questions for the applicant? All right. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your time. And I'm sorry for your loss, too.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here to speak in support of this matter? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Seeing none, gentlemen, your pleasure.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve. We have a second from Mr. Kunzen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, ma'am, enjoy your screen room.
Thanks.
Last one.
Item number 7 is a variance request for 111 Brown Drive located in the Sunland Estates subdivision. The request is for a rear yard setback reduction from 30 feet to 26.5 feet for an addition in the R1A zoning district. The request is to construct a 264 square foot addition with a covered porch and breezeway 3.5 feet into the rear yard setback. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for staff?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
The site plan shows some details about the proposed addition, which includes what looks like a bathroom. Is this an addition onto the house, or is this a separate accessory structure? Because I know that plumbing in an accessory structure can make a difference. Can
It's going to be an addition.
Okay.
So it's attached?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Wright, the geography of this lot, this parcel didn't,
I have a
I was
question.
waiting for the
Thank you.
engineers
I have a
to-
question. So the existing structure has several covered enclosures in the back that cross over the setback line. Was there any previous need for variances on those? Or because were they not necessary?
Right, that's not subject to this variance. They are looking to construct this building. They have not received any code enforcement violations.
So there was
for us to
no
look
previous
into that.
variances for the lot?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I should have just asked that.
all right. No other questions? All right, is the applicant here? Anything y'all like to add to what staff had said? Do y'all have any questions for the applicant? Is there anyone here to speak in support of this matter? Mr. Duncan's your chance here now at the end, and anyone here to speak in opposition to this matter? Seeing none, gentlemen, your pleasure.
Move to approve.
Judge moves to approve.
Second.
We have a second from the vice chair. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, enjoy. Last thing in the matter, the chair will entertain a motion regarding 2 outstanding minutes that need to be reviewed.
Motion to
We have
approve.
a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Mealy. All those in favor?
Before we call a vote on that, I did notice a slight error in one of the minutes. I already emailed the clerk.
We got that last meeting though, right?
No, this was
That's right,
a
because we
week or
didn't
two
consider it
ago.
last meeting, that's right, but you, okay. Wait, have you already shared that with the clerk?
Yes.
All right, then it's taken into consideration then. Otherwise, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Subject to what Mr. Kunzin had shared with the clerk. It's approved. I made
So
that amendment.
you just tag on whatever you want to after the vote's been done? Is that how this works?
You know, I've been watching politics here lately, and all this talk of fascism sounds really, you know. All right, anything else you all need for the good of the order? We are adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.
Politics, what's happening?
Oh, I don't know. I've been thinking Halloween.